One. Here we go. Getting started. Maybe I need this remedy tonight. I've got my handkerchief. I actually, I love cotton handkerchiefs. I actually press them, wash them and press them. I press them in little piles, have them all neatly piled up in my top dresser drawer. I think they're just so much prettier. Look, it's got little daisies on it. All righty. Bum, 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 as they say. Hi, Nathalie. So, Nathalie, do you, I call Natalie Nathalie because she's got that H in her name. We're going to have the contest tonight, so if you wouldn't mind determining who it is who wins, because you're going to be seeing it, I'm going to be talking away. So if you don't mind doing that for me, that would be great, and then getting their address, and so we can have this remedy sent out. Hi, John from Texas. Good evening. Hi, Christy. Hi from MI. I think MI is Mississippi, or is it Missouri? I never got those two straight. Wonderful to see you from Washington State. I love to see where everyone's from. It really makes it fun. So the other day I was grocery shopping, and out in front were these little Girl Scouts with their mom, and they were selling cookies. And I don't buy cookies, to be honest. If I'm going to have a cookie, I'm going to make cookies, generally speaking. But I said, oh, they're Girl Scouts. I got to buy some cookies from them. So I knew my husband would eat them up in a flash. So I bought a couple boxes of the mint chocolate cookies. I forget what they're called. And it brought me back because I was a Girl Scout too once. And I remember, actually, I was a brownie. We never got to Girl Scouts, and there's a reason for that. When I was a brownie, they told us that we would get wings, and we would have fly-up day, and we would turn into Girl Scouts after becoming brownies, and we would, essentially graduate, but they called it fly-up day. Now, we used to have these meetings for the brownies in a basement of a church, and there was a balcony. And so, being literal, I thought they were going to teach us how to fly. And I was imagining we were all going to stand on the top of this banister, and they were going to give us wings, but I didn't imagine the little metal wings that they were going to pin on our brown uniform. But rather, I thought they were going to give us wings. I mean, I thought the Girl Scouts were incredible. So I thought we were going to learn how to fly. And so when we had the whole ceremony and they gave us all these little wings that they put on our little brownie uniform, I said, I'm out. This whole system is a scam. They told us we were going to learn how to fly, and instead all we got were these stupid little metal wings. That's it. I'm not giving my dime anymore. I'm through with the brownies. So I guess that's what happens when you take things literally. I went home and told my mother, and she said, honey, I don't think she even spent any time explaining on it because I was already crestfallen enough. So I just thought I'd share that because it reminded me of being a little girl and being naive and thinking that maybe I'd learn how to fly someday. So tonight, I think we've got a good number of people here now. We're going to talk about runny nose. And it's funny because this remedy that we are going to use tonight, I love it for myself. And I've got it here in my hand, and I've also got it in my Materia Medica, and it's Ambrosia artemisiae folia. So ambrosia is one word, A-M-B-R-O-S-I-A, just the way it sounds, ambrosia. Artemisiae folia is A-R-T-E-M-I-S-I-A-E, and then folia, F-O-L-I-A. Now, you don't need to have the second word. More often than not in homeopathy, we don't need the second word. Sometimes we do, but often we don't. What's interesting about this medicine we're going to talk about tonight is I went through a couple of other. I have a concordant Materia Medica by Robin Williams, and I've got another one here by Fatak, and this one by Boraki. And when I put this together in my Materia Medica, I knew full well that this Ambrosia artemisiae is a remedy that's not often used. It's a small remedy. And what we mean by small is that it doesn't have a lot of applications. It's got a pretty clear indication of what it can be used for. And so it is made of ragweed. Interesting, right? Now think about that. It's interesting because what it is used for often is, what it's known for is runny eyes. Now we talked about this last week with, did we talk about aloe or, now I'm having a hard time remembering if it was aloe or allium cepa. But allium cepa is what I'm referring to, so we can compare the two and contrast them. So this one, Ambrosia, is a homeopathic preparation made of common ragweed. I'm reading from my Materia Medica. The best indicator for its use is lacrimation, watery eyes, and intolerably itchy eyelids. Now, I had that a few weeks ago for a short period of time. I did not use this. To be honest, I just didn't think of it. I came up with the medicine and took it right away, so I didn't really need it. But this probably would have been more specific. So itchy eyelids. It can also be used in cases of itchy conjunctivitis. Now, conjunctivitis, the conjunctiva is the inner eye lid that we women put eyeliner on, and that gets red and sometimes infected, especially in children, but it can happen to anyone, and particularly around season in the spring or in the fall when there's a lot of pollen. So it's made from ragweed, and the nose and head feel like they could burst from pressure despite the nose running freely. Well, that's what I've got now. My nose is kind of running freely. But the lacrimation is gone and the itchy conjunctiva is gone. So what's interesting is that this can be used for allergies, especially, and asthma attacks, especially brought on by sneezing and runny eyes and runny nose. It's clear. It's got to be clear for it to use this medicine. If the nose moisture is not runny and it's instead stopped up, or it's yellow or green or too thick, then it's not going to be this medicine, because the keynotes of this medicine is the fact that it is watery eyes, watery nose, and itchy conjunctiva, or itchy eyes all around. So not unlike when we talk about Apis mellifica, which is made from crushed honeybee. Apis mellifica is used for stinging and burning pains. But when someone gets stung by a bee, do we use Apis mellifica? We can, but it's not our first choice. So when we look at Ambrosia artemisiae, are we going to use this for hay fever that comes from ragweed? In other words, if someone's exposed to ragweed and this starts happening, that is my question tonight. Will we use this specifically? Is it the first remedy we think of for ragweed because it's made from ragweed? So, that is often the way folks who are new to homeopathy think about homeopathy. They figure, well, if you've got poison ivy, then you use rhus tox, right? Because that's made from poison ivy. But that's not the first medicine we think of, is it? The first medicine we think of for poison ivy is usually, I have to think about it for a second, anacardium. Rhus tox can be used for poison ivy rash and blisters, etc., but it's usually quite a way down the line. So my question to you tonight is just that. Do we use this? Is this used that way for the first time, as a first thought for using it for ragweed? And if so, what would you call that? Is that homeopathy? Or would you say that's something else? I'm not going to tell you what it is. Let's see if we can come up with some answers. And the first person who comes up with the right answer and can flesh it out a little bit will get the remedy sent to them. We'll have it. We'll buy it. I'll buy it, and I'll send it off to you. I'm a little chilly. I'm going to put my shawl on.
2 winners.
Oh, we got 2 winners. Great. We may have more than that. Let's see how it goes. Of course, we say I only promised it to 1, but sometimes it's they're so darn close that it's hard to distinguish between the 2, and they come in at the same time. So this is a great medicine for regardless of the cause, which is not unlike many of these medicines that I teach. The etiology can be valuable, but it's not always what's important. In fact, it's more often that we're looking at the name of the condition, lacrimation or hay fever, and how it's presenting. How is that hay fever presenting? Well, it's presenting with lacrimation and runny nose, perhaps some sneezing. This medicine can also have urticaria, which is another word for hives, or rashes that arise due to hay fever. Interesting, isn't it? So someone might say, oh my gosh, this is such a bad year for me. With hay fever, my eyes, my nose, I'm sneezing. This is just awful. And then it goes even one step further. Now I've got these hives, urticaria. We could separate and say, for the runny eyes and runny nose, we could try Allium cepa. And then for the urticaria, we could use Urtica urens, which is made from nettles. And we could go on and break it all down and use a medicine for each of them. But when we've got one medicine that covers all of them, it's a dead ringer. That's how we know it's going to work. That's how we know we've got one that's correct. So the reason this remedy is not a sweeping medicine is because I don't necessarily believe that this is its only action, because I think that a lot of times these medicines just haven't been shown to work in many ways because no one's looked at it. Instead, they look at it as a remedy for this condition, this group of symptoms, and they stop there and that's it, and then it gets published. But it is a smaller remedy because it is so specific to this group of symptoms, which is very different than something like, say, sulfur. Homeopathic sulfur, which has a very broad application. Now, is that because they've studied it greater? Because it's been studied for a longer period of time over history, in the history of homeopathy? Or is it because it does have a more ubiquitous ability? I think when we compare ambrosia, artemisiae to sulfur, it is likely that sulfur is going to have a broader application. Why? Because sulfur is ubiquitous. We don't always get ragweed across the earth. Not every place in the earth has it, but every place in the earth has sulfur. Sulfur is on the periodic table. It can be used for so many conditions. And we're not going to get to the S's for a very long time at the rate we're going on this Materia Medica pathway. So, and given that I'm telling you a little bit about sulfur, I want to give you just kind of a little tip that's a writer-downer about sulfur. And I've talked about it before. I'm not sure if I've talked about it on these podcasts or if it's been on my blog. But if you have a cold or a flu or respiratory infection or anything that's kind of in this whole sinusy area, or you feel run down, and it seems to be lasting a while. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I've talked about this, but it's worth repetition. It lasts more than, say, 10 days. It goes into 10, 12, 13 days, and you feel run down, even if your first symptoms are long gone. But now you just feel run down. You're just not getting back into your game. That's when we use sulfur 30, generally twice a day for a few days, and it often picks up where the illness started off originally. So just before you got sick, it'll bring you back to that and maybe give you a little extra on top of that. So I want to talk to you about my upcoming course that's coming up. So watch for that. It's on toxins. I know you're going to love it, about being toxic, about worrying about toxins. And what I love about homeopathy is we can settle all of the debate about anxiety and bring it down several steps down. So watch for that. You might be getting that in your box, your email. And I want to remind you to go to Boron, or USA. And so that you can get your remedies discounted by just putting in my name, Joette, Joette. I don't get kickbacks. There are no affiliate programs with them. It's just something I want you folks to be able to get a discount for. And someone asked me last time, and I've mentioned this before, my seagull back there, who I love, and I'm kind of a real aficionado of this artist. What, you want me to read something?
Those are the two nurse.
Oh, great. Bring them closer to me. I can't see that far. We have two winners. Someone asked me last time, and I've mentioned this before. Oh, you better turn that off. My seagull. It's going to be conflicting. His name, the artist's name is Olaf Rudbeck, and he was an ornithologist and artist back in the 1700s in Sweden. So this is a print, which I don't care. I love it so much. So let's see. We have, oh, Lynn. You bet, Lynn. Good going. And Lisa, I know both these people. Isopathy, that's right. So when we use a homeopathic medicine that is made from the same stuff that's causing the trouble, it's called isopathy, not homeopathy. Because homeopathy, remember, means home is like homonym or similar, and pathy means pathology. So it's similar pathology, not exact pathology, similar pathology. Whereas isopathy is actually using the exact substance. So if you have poison ivy, you would use poison ivy homeopathically, even though we don't believe that that is the best choice necessarily. It is a choice. If anacardium doesn't act, if sulfur doesn't act, and we can go all the way down the line of all the medicines that could potentially be used, and they don't act, then you can go on to considering using isopathy. So I find that a lot of times when folks are new, as I said, new to homeopathy, especially practitioners who learn, well, Rhus tox, that's poison ivy, then we just use poison ivy and someone gets it. That is grossly oversimplifying. They don't have a good enough grasp on homeopathy, and you can teach them. If that's what your naturopath or whatever is telling you, then you might want to teach them a little bit about homeopathy and the difference. So I don't know, can you hear any voices back there? Just let me know. I want to know if you can hear that. A woman's voice in the background. Just let me know, because it's really interesting for me to know whether or not you can. That's my mother in that room back here. She has Alzheimer's, and she talks a lot, a real lot. She'll actually talk all night. So that's my mother, and I want to know whether or not you can hear her. Sometimes she's louder than other times. Tonight she's a little, she's a little subdued. And so I know that she's right there. And when I'm working, I often have those doors open and I can hear her, or I can see her. And she's a big part of my life. She lives with my husband and me. So let's see. What else did I want to mention to you tonight? Shop boron, make sure you do that. Let's see if there are any questions here. Hello from Houston. Hi, Karina.
Tell Natalie we'll reach out to her with the names.
Yeah, we'll reach out to you, Natalie, tonight, and so that we can get these remedies sent out to Lynn and Lisa. Very happy to see that you were super quick. It's a little unfair in a way because I've never taught this about isopathy and etc. But it's a great way to learn. Isopathy, I-S-O-P-A-T-H-Y, isopathy. There you go. And hello from Tennessee. Yes, Dawn, you're absolutely right. This remedy, ambrosia, can also work on whooping cough. Now, it's not the first one I think of. For whooping cough, I think of Cupra metallicum. There are a lot of them. Ipecac. Those are Banerjee protocols for whooping cough. And I know that very well because after going to the Banerjee Homeopathic Research Foundation a few years ago, I got whooping cough. And it's not a pretty disease. And that's what I used. So I know how efficacious it can be. We can use others. There's Drosera. There's, you hear her singing? She's singing. It's my mother. My father was a musician. a very learned musician. He played in symphonies and big bands, and he played trumpet and flute. And so my father had lots of training and took his music very, very seriously. And my mother had a very kind of off voice. And my father used to criticize her and say, "Oh, God, please don't do that. Don't sing." It was like nails on a chalkboard to him. Well, my father's gone now. So she has all the freedom in the world to sing away. She does it all alone. She just sings, which is a great thing. All righty, folks. I think we can call it a night. I've got a study group to go to in just a few minutes. And if you're not in a study group, I can't urge you enough to do it. Join a study group, start a study group. If you don't know how to do it, call my office. Eileen is really great. She'll help you understand how you can put it together or how you can join another, whether remotely or in person. These study groups is where you learn, because you'll learn everyone else's mistakes. You learn that everyone else has stupid questions like you have, and you get them answered. You learn how everyone else is suffering just like you, because we all think that we're the only ones suffering. We always think that. We think no one has as much suffering with the sinuses in the eyes or the eczema or the food intolerances or the rheumatoid arthritis. No one suffers like we do, at least not anyone we know, which is what we're basing our assumptions on. So it's good to be with others, because then you learn that we all carry a cross. And so with that, folks, I wish you a very good night and love you all. Good night, friends, and God bless. See you next week.